All right, looks like we got everybody coming back in with us here today and leaving out of the group. So next step, guys, here would be for anybody who is a spokesperson or a group leader there in the group, the ones that we're going to be charged with reporting back into us. Go ahead and raise your hands, and then I'll go ahead and give everybody a second to go ahead and work through that on the process, the hand raising process we have here. And then go ahead and see. And then who do we got here? Let's close. Sorry, I might get my little window here. All right, cool. We got Leah up first for us. So Leah, report into us. What came up in y'all? What came up for you in your group here? And let's take see if we give ourselves about 90 seconds here.
Okay. So Connie and Kurt were my co-pilots. They're in Nevada and Texas, respectively. I'm in Northern New Jersey. We both seem to be kind of long-term rental real estate investors, buy and hold strategy. Connie said mostly 1 to 4 units or homes. I think it's the same single family properties for Kurt. Kurt is the owner of a manufacturing business, and he also acquires and runs businesses. So he needs to be legally protected and make sure he has the entity structure in place to have the most, safety for him. And he was kind of saying that being with like-minded people and networking is one of the most important things that he hopes to gain from being in this group. Connie has an unbelievable superpower. She is a tax and accounting guru and digital. She knows anything about digital taxation. She's the person to go to. She's newly returned to the U.S. from being in Singapore and said that she's a little bit getting organized with her priorities and goals and tasks, and the first time remodeling of a rental unit. So that's a little bit of a challenge for her, kind of going through that. And by all means, either of you, if I've missed anything, jump in and correct me. But she is.
So Leah, with that too, I just want to follow up with you. Was there any specific requests for help of who they needed? Like, was Connie looking for anybody from the group to say hey, who's done a rental that's like this before? Because I'm struggling with it and I need somebody to help talk to about how I should be doing this. Was that a request that came out?
Her speak.
I would like to make that request. It's just adding a mother-in-law unit onto a single family home. I've never done construction like that before. So cool. Yes, please. Thank you so much, awesome. Scott. And thank you, Lee.
Awesome. So that would be the bottom lining of it as a group leader of how you help people get to the bottom lines of their requests. So we come into the group and it's hey, these are just the specific things. What I'm good at, here's where this person needs help. What they're good at, here's what this person, that kind of piece to it. So we can get it to the full group of boom, now we have really high visibility for Connie. So awesome work, Leah. That was great. Thank you so much for that share there. Okay, cool. Let's go to our next group here with Robert. Oh, by the way, too, before we jump into Robert, so this is also the part too, where if you heard anything come up from Leah, they're oh, cool, I want to follow up with Leah about this. Or if you're a person that has some experience where you think you could be helpful for with Connie, to hop into the chat and then start those side conversations there in the chat with connecting with each other about those. Okay, Robert, go ahead. Thank you again, Leah.
I like that.
First one up too, you're so brave. Just jumping right into the fray here, on the front lines of it. Robert was even slower to raise his hand than you. So I think the girls won today for being first off the block. So thank you, Leah. Now go ahead and shoot, Robert.
Yeah, you bet. So this was Lovetta and I primarily. Lovetta's in Missoula, Montana. I'm based just outside of Columbus, Ohio. And we're both rentals. She's kind of long-term rental. I'm more focused on short-term rentals. And our superpowers, I have a construction background, rehab background. So multitasking and efficiency were talents, I think, that we mentioned within our group. And we both have sort of the common need of having a group like this that has varied experience that we can ask questions to and get feedback from. We didn't have any burning ones that we mentioned at the time, but we don't have people in our friend groups or family that do this. And so having this group or having a group that we can lean on for questions, that's the type of people that we need to attract into our lives.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that, Robert. I heard a couple of key pieces in there too from Robert sharing. It's like, hey, there's some strong skill sets in the people that were in Robert's group and with Robert around like construction, like E04, things that Connie was talking about, but also about like, how do you manage a really busy day? Right? Typically, that's what multitasking is referring to, right? We're like, oh, actually, I just have a ton of things I have to organize around. And how do I make sure I don't drop any balls? So I was hearing that from Robert too. So if you feel like you're in that position, that your life feels like that, then sounds like Robert would be a great resource to talk into. And then I saw here inside of the chat, guys, that people were dropping in some of their needs around, hey, does anybody know who we have in the raw land investing? Maybe even some of our staff would have people that would come to mind inside of our broader community, the people that aren't even on this call that we know are land investors that might be able to be connected there with Leah potentially. And then Connie has some things in here in digital tax. So Connie, if you could just email me at scott@royallegalsolutions.com about the kinds of work that you're helping people with in digital tax. I'd love to learn more about what that means to you and what that looks like. One of the goals that we have here for the communities overall is to be able to help elevate and bring to light what are the special skill sets that we all have, from Royal Life to Royal Investing. You'll also know too that coming here, Gina will have to correct me if I'm wrong in here, but in very short order, I think we're actually having all of our asset class specific group coaching that's launching, I think, here this week. Isn't that right, Gina?
Yeah, we had one earlier. It started. So yep.
Yeah. So we have one that was earlier here as well too. So we're creating like more of these groups to streamline those, as well as to be able to create a Discord channel that we're now going to start having promoting everybody to go into a Discord channel so we can start and share those conversations outside of the groups and organize the information that we're learning inside of the groups, as well as the links to our like recordings of our shows and how you can use that Discord channel to organize the content and relationships that you're going to be making here as part of your networking. So to those points, that's the way we've tried to, that's where we're at right now with working on helping to create that community piece of it. So I'm asking everybody to please participate in that initiative, because it takes a certain mass of people for it to work and to get enough momentum and helping facilitate those communications that are there. And then once we can get that running, guys, then I'll be ready for the next round of feedback of like, what do we need to build next? Of like, how can we make this network and this community even stronger and more specific for you about what it is you're looking for. But I need everybody's help here at the beginning of getting into these Discord channels that just got popped here into the Slack for any of the ones that you're interested in joining. Those would be the links to be able to enjoy it inside of those groups and then participating in those groups that you're most interested in. Great, guys. So let's go ahead and hop into some of the, was there any other groups that needed to report in? I didn't see any other hands up. Was there any other reporters that haven't gone yet?
Yes. Hi, Scott.
Okay.
I was trying to raise my hand, but it wasn't
raised. You gotta raise the
raising.
hand in the beginning, brother, when I'm asking for everybody. All right, Charlie, we got about 90 seconds here for you.
Okay, real fast. So I have Alex and I had Tayden in our group. And Alex has he's out of Seattle. He invests in crypto and other business overall. He's got a very strong business background. His superpower is he's a relationship connector. What's going well for him is he networks well in business, working on several different associations and groups in opportunity zones and such. And where his challenge is, what he needs help with is in expanding the businesses, his own business. So he's specifically looking for skilled partners or partnerships to build to help with that. In Tayden, with Tayden's situation, she's out of St. George, Utah, and invests in crypto. She's also, her superpower is she's a super mom. So all power to her. What's going on for her?
That's multitasking right there, isn't it?
All together.
Multitasking and how to be effective on low sleep, you know?
Yeah,
That's pretty great.
no sleep. She's what's going well for her. She's an excellent organizer. She's organizing all of her plans for her family and her wedding and everything. And then on the need, she wants to grow her money, you know, and in her investments. So she's looking to attract a financial advisor or team players that can help with helping to grow her investments. So that's kind of the two in our group. And I know we had 90 seconds, so we can pass on me for now.
All right, we're going to work on trying to dial these in, guys. We could spend the whole time just sharing. I know that would be fun, but we have work that we need to get through together as well too, for like one of our cover offs on the call. So we'll just work on that as we go through about how to tighten up the shares. And so that way we can keep them all like on point and be able to keep it inside a time frame so we can get the best of all possible worlds. But I know, Charlie, you're going to be here next week, if that's okay with you, to circle back into you next week, if that's all right.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
It's all good.
All right, guys. So here next up, what I'd like you to do is to go there into the chat. And if you go ahead and scroll up a little bit in the chat, you'll see that I dropped a PDF into the chat up at the top. Not up at the very, very top, but anybody struggling with finding that? So that'll pull up there. This is our discussion that we're going to have today. That's going to be around looking at core values, like we talked about before. And one thing that we talked about was important about discussing around core values is core values is important for two different reasons. The first reason core values is important is because the more you're living in line with your core values, the easier everything becomes. When you're trying to do things that are outside of your core values, it actually takes you more energy to be able to accomplish whatever that is. So think about it like the part, if you're like, you're like a really like quiet person, you don't really like lots of social interaction, and you're like, I need to make more money. That's what I heard from just one of the group members. I want to make more money. The way I think I'm going to make more money is by wholesaling real estate, and I'm going to make 200 phone calls a day into it, right? And try to do like cold connects with people. If your personality and your core values are around being being like a private, reserved, not gregarious type of person, then yes, is cold calling and wholesaling a way to be able to generate wholesale deeds and make money off it? Yes. Is it an activity though that's outside of your values of who you are inherently? Yes. That means it's actually energetically a very expensive activity for you to do. Does that make sense? Like that there's an energy expenditure just like we would have with money, and that costs something. So you'd say, great, well, that's a really expensive way for you as a person to try to operate, and such that when you run out of energy, guess what happens? You actually just stop working. You won't actually be able to get yourself to do any more of it inherently, right? So the question on values is, what is the cheapest way for me to be able to get what I want? And if we thought about energy as money, that's what you can you could use that as an analogy of looking at it in that context, right? So it's important because that's how we keep our energy levels up, how we have a life sustaining system that feels good to us as we grow. And it's also important to us because we know that the more things we want to accomplish, the more efficient and effective our energy spend needs to be able to execute on what all of those things are. Okay, so how in the world are we going to determine what that means? So here's our process for it, guys, because you know I love tools, I love processes, right? And we're going to look at this exercise first, and then we're going to go ahead and jump into our Rich Life Planner. Quick cover off on that is we have Liz on our team working on the charting your aliveness document, and she's going to be sharing that with you guys as well too, if she hasn't already, around our updated draft of that, as well as a document that's like this. And in the future versions of the Rich Life Planner, you'll see more of these tools are going to be incorporated into the planner itself. But in the meantime, this is what we have there, the stuff that I dropped here in the chat and what we got. All right, so here's what I'd like you to do, guys, is to go ahead and start with just listing out our, looking here at step one. And step one is just reviewing all of these terms. So with all the terms here, I know you can't circle it necessarily like on your screen, But looking at a step 1, step 2, look at this list. We're going to take 90 seconds here. Look at this list and just write down what are the top 10 words that resonate with you. Don't try to overthink it. What you're looking for is just what are the words that pop out to you that you're like, that one. That word for some reason, one reason or another, like jumps out at me. Gina, do you have any other like insightful helps with people when looking at step 1, step 2, and covering off on those top 10 values that you think would be important?
Yeah, so I mean, read through these and there's going to be, you'll either one of these words will resonate or another one will pop up, because sometimes the words that are on here are like, well, but there's another word. So if it's not on the list, don't get attached like, oh my word, add it. But the key is to really just look at them, take a few seconds for yourself and just circle as many. I say the top 10, but some people are like, well, I have more than 10. Well, then circle however many you want, but your exercise is going to get a little more difficult. So try to do 10. So that's my thing.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and take some time here, guys. Give us about like 2 minutes here to come up with what are your top 10 there. And so we should now be at a place here where you have like you have your 10 values written out here, guys. And then here's what we want to think through in terms of like our next pieces. So now we'd say, great, these are the top 10 areas of my life that I know when I'm focused on whatever those words mean. And we're going to unpack what those words actually mean to you, because these words, each word, even if I pick, fun and Leah picks fun, we probably mean really different things about like what fun is, right? But the idea is like, well, we both might resonate about being like fun being really important to us, and whatever we're doing, we need it to be fun, or we really want it to be fun for it to be an activity that actually makes it life fulfilling for us. And there's ways that you can actually do that. You can intentionally create fun even inside of your work, right? But we'll get into some of those strategies here in a bit. But looking at what we have now, guys, let's look at the values that we have here and just ask ourselves a couple of few questions, a couple of key questions in here about AIM. And Gina, did you want to walk us through this AIM process and what that has been important to you? And I added a few little caveats to the AIM piece that I can fill in there with the IE sections. If you want to cover off on those other parts, and I can fill in on the IE pieces.
Yeah, so I like to break things down so my brain can remember stuff and acronyms. And so it's one thing to circle the words that attract you and that you're attracted to, but it's another when you start actually going and looking at, oh, how much am I living in these words that I just chose that resonated with me? And so one of the things that I started doing is to really look at the first one is A, so it stands for attention. Like how much of your attention goes to the value? So like I can have a value for, I don't know, adventure, right? But all of my attention is focused on things that aren't adventurous, right? All my attention is focused on how do I stay safe, or how do I do the safe stuff, whatever. That's just an example. And then Scott, and really when we talk about attention, it's talking about like, your attention is your time, your energy, and your thoughts, right? Because you can spend, just thinking about things. If you say you want adventure and your whole time is thinking about spending time thinking, how can you make an adventure safe? Well, maybe adventure is really not your thing. I don't know. And then Scott added in there, do you have a habit to ensure your aliveness is being fulfilled in living true to that value? So once you kind of look at how much of your attention's there, then we're going to couple it with, okay, are you really living the thing? So that's the A. You want to scroll down? So the I is, go ahead.
Just to go on a little bit more about that IE section of it.
Yeah.
So guys, remember how we did the follow your aliveness stuff like in the last 2 weeks? We looked at we talked about like fishes. Let's rank it on a scale of like 1 to 10 of where are we at on like that general area of our life, whether it was financial, intellectual, social, your health, your emotional, or your spiritual well-being. And then the next week, which was last week, we ended up talking about, great, well, what is your aliveness there? What are the things that make you become like alive and give you tons of energy in that whatever area that life is? What are the things that give you nourishment to help you build additional energy inside of you? And then lastly, what are like the zappers, the things that drain your energy here, right? So when we're looking about the A, which is the attention part of AIM that Gina just went over, what that means to me is my attention is well, how cognizant of am I of that area of my life? And that areas of my life that I'm really cognizant about are things that I'm doing something with, right? That if I have high attention to my beauty, I'm thinking, well, that actually is me making sure to moisturize, because I really like having baby face skin at 36. It's amazing. My girlfriend loves it. You know, if you don't moisturize, I highly recommend it as like a thing to do, but it turns into a habit. It's like a morning and evening thing that I do, right? Is that I give it attention and a specificity to me of what is that thing in my life that I know that I'm contributing to my value of beauty. That's like important to me and to it. So that's what it means. That's what that attention means to me. Okay, so let's go to I, which is going to be the intention of it. So Gina, what does that mean about the intentions?
Yeah, so for some people, they're like, well, attention and intention are the same thing. I'm like, really? Are they? I don't think so. Because attention is where you actually put your thoughts and, time and energy. Intention is really those things that you sit around and dream about, and are like, oh, I wish I could do that. So it's separate and distinct. So, you also want to look at, are these words that you circled also in alignment with those things that you intend to do or wish to do or dream about doing? And do you understand objectively and with specificity what that looks like, right? What would that look like? What would that intention look like? And what would be happening when you're living true to that particular value or that particular word?
Awesome. Yeah. So me, what that means is like, hey, my attention is am I cognizant of what's going on here? And then my intention comes into like specifically what does that actually look like objectively? Could I measure my ability to be able to be in pursuit of whatever that value or whatever that thing is? To know that, hey, it's with that kind of intention, the attention of what's going on and the intention of the action, and with the specificity that allows for true accountability, that I'm going to get where I want to go, right? So I have to be aware of it. I have to be pursuing it, and it has to be be able to be measured in a way that I can hold myself accountable, and that other people in my community might be able to hold me accountable for it as well too. Okay, and then M, big money, big money. Money is such an interesting thing, right? We all have money. Has anybody wondered what money is besides like a fake thing? Because I think money is pretty fake, right? Like it's just something that somebody else like just made up, and then we all just play along with each other that it's a thing that has value. But money is super important, right? So what is the role of like what money really symbolizes inside of our framework here in Royal Life is that money is, in reality, and we look at it as investors and creators and people that are out there trying to create a better life for ourselves and a better portfolio and better impact other people's lives, is that money itself is stored energy. Money is just stored energy. And the way that you use that stored energy, it is a process of creation. And the efficiency in which you can use that money to create is your systems and processes that were coming around it. So when we think about money, the reason money is important here is because money is the thing that's top of mind for us of what a lot of us want more of, right? Like raise your hand if you're like, cool, more money would be great, right? I'd love some more money, please. Thank you, money people, whoever gives you money. Yeah. And then also it's a way of saying like, hey, well, apart from just more money, like how can I use this stored energy to give me more of what it is that I want, to allow me to create more in the values of the areas of my life to be able to give me that better system. So Gina, tell us what's important about like looking at how much money you spend in an identified area. Why did that come up as like a central part of this process?
Because this is like my favorite one, because as I was working with people on identifying core values years over years, when I asked them, those sound really great. I'm going to use health as one of them. Because when you do core values, a lot of times you put on there the things that you're supposed to value, that we think we're supposed to value. And so people would put on there a lot. Well, I want health. And I said, okay, great. Let's talk about that. How much money do you spend on things that are going to make you healthy? Eating good food, going to the gym, self-care activities. And they're like, well, I don't spend money on that. And I'm like, maybe that's really not a value. So this is the one that really helps people do that gut check when they're going through their top 10 words to see, what do I really value? Because if you're not putting money towards it, likely your heart's not there, right? There's a scripture that says, where your treasure is, there also lies your heart. It's that kind of thing, right? So if you're not putting your money there, you have to question, is your heart really in it? So that's why I added money. It's very cool. Very cool.
Very, very cool. Yeah. And just to pile on to that, right, is that how committed are you to building this, whatever that area of your life is? If you're just going to say, well, I'm going to use my new energy that I get blessed with every day to work on it, that's great, right? But there's a different level of commitment that happens when you say, I'm going to use some of my stored energy too, that I call money, to push to this thing. That's how you can know, if it's important enough for that, then it's important enough to me, you know? And as we come into it, right?
Yep.
Okay. So let's go ahead and guys, we'll look at quickly here. I know we have about 12 minutes left. So the next steps in the process here, guys, is just looking at your sheet of 10 and then thinking down of like, okay, let's get down to like a group of 3. So if you think you're 10, just start like looking at, great, if I can get to my like group of 10 here, is there like a group of 5 that makes sense? And let's just take a moment here to like look at that group of 5. What comes out of your top there? And then after you have your 5, let's go ahead and look at your top 3. Cool. And with your top 3, this is what we would say that these are going to be your core values. So you should, at this point, have it dialed down to a top 3 core values. And this is, guys, this is where we're going to get into the really hard part. The first part was all the feel-good part. This next part is where the rubber meets the road, and the hard part that makes Royal Life and what we do here significantly more difficult than anything else that anybody is going to show you in the world. And this is where it came out to me from my life experience, where my life started taking a J-turn up and to the right in a lot of different areas once I started doing this next piece. Because it's so hard, nobody will ever teach you how to do it. So the next piece to do is, what do you need to be sure to be doing to live more in alignment with those values? This is the follow your aliveness piece, right? What do you need to be sure to do to live more in alignment with those? And what do you need to stop doing? Those are your zappers. So what do you need to be doing? And what do you need to stop doing? Okay. So if you know me, right, we're about to go turn into the journal now of what it is, because I've already built the process of how to help you be able to figure out what is going to be your consistent and repetitive way of being able to do this exercise. So now that you have your top core values, how are you going to be able to have a system and process that's going to allow you to be able to be consistent and thinking through the 2 critical questions? What is the thing that I need to be doing? And what is the thing I need to stop doing? And where are you going to find that? It's page 24. So if you open up inside of your chat to page 24, you'll see it in the PDF of the chat. There should be a PDF version of your Royal Life Planner. Oh my God, Gina, today is the last day for people to get free copies.
Yep, today's the last day. You better send me an email at Gina at royallegalsolutions.com. Get your free hard copy.
Get your free hard copy. Email and Gina. It's the last day. Otherwise, we're selling these for $60, and we're launching funnels around these books too, guys, to be able to get these out to more people. We want to get in as many high caliber people into our group as we can to strengthen us up. So looking here at page 24, guys, I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share here. I'm going to switch you over to my other camera so you guys can see this. So you'll see here on page 24, let me get a little light action for you. That should help a little bit. So you hear that this is your 1 habit to start and your 1 habit to stop. That's right here. So that is the core of what we just went over, because we should have go over, we'd have what our values are going to be. And you say, great, what's a habit I need to start to live in that core value, and what's a habit I need to stop. And then you'll write that in here, whatever that would be. Habit I need to start is workout at 7 a.m. I have a health and fitness goal that's around my workout at 7 a.m. Habit I need to stop is eating after 7 p.m. I go to jujitsu, I come back home. I got a couple hours there. I got a little bit more work to do to make Gina happy with me the next day when I come into the office. And then I'll be like, you know what sounds good? And there you go. Boom, late night snacking. I don't know. That comes into it. So this is something I need to stop doing in here. This is a zapper for me. When I do this, it feels good in the moment of doing it. And then when I wake up the next morning, I'm like, God, you know, I'd be farther along in my health challenge, my health goals that I have here for my top goal for this month, which is I want to reduce body fat by 1% for this month coming in. And these are the two things I think I need to do. I need to start this habit. I need to stop this. That comes into it to be in alignment with my goal or my value, which is age-defying physicality, age-defying youth into it. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and take some quick shares on of like what comes up for people as they're working through and thinking through this process. Kim, I saw you were unmuted here, so you get to be the first volunteer
Good.
to talk about that. What came up for you as we were working through this process just now?
I love this book. It's great. And my goals are that too. I feel lucky that the physical goals are cut sugar. And I also stopped eating after 6:30. And just those two small little goals have made and start my day with a smoothie. The three, I guess, have made all the difference. I'm at my goal weight. I feel incredibly healthy. And it's nice that I don't have to worry about that. My thing right now is becoming more organized in my real estate portfolio. I need a spreadsheet that shows everything because it's really large. And so just organization is going to be my top priority this month. And I would love it to be as simple as making a few little changes. Miracle Morning, I love that, but a few little changes that make it as easy as staying into top health and physical condition.
Awesome. Kim, I think you're working with Pete as well too, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Super excited about that.
Yeah, be sure to clearly articulate to Pete what are the things that you have there in terms of like what's going to make your life great around being able to help you keep like organized and effective in that area, because that's one of our goals and initiatives of that kind of relationship that you have there with Pete into it. So let's keep a pulse on that and see how well that between Pete and myself here, how we're going to be able to help get you to that next level that you're looking for. Let's get another share. Thank you so much, Kim, for sharing on that. Let's get one more in here, guys, about like what came up for us through the process here. I was just seeing Nikki Higgs onto our group here as well. I don't know if Nikki, if you would feel comfortable with sharing, but I saw you guys, both of you here through the process. And so I always love to be able to call on couples that are doing this here together because it's a little bit different of experience. Would you feel comfortable sharing with us just a little bit about like what came up for you guys as you were working through this process?
So we haven't made it. I think we got our top three things. We already from last week know what our zappers are. I think the biggest problem for me are that the zappers are what get my most attention because they take the most time, and that would be my primary job.
Woo!
So,
how about that, huh? The zappers are the thing that hijack most of our attention, right? Yeah. Let me ask you this. Does the belief system run inside of your head that to be successful, I need to be good at those zappers?
No, I feel like to just live on a day-to-day basis and pay my bills, I have to pay attention to these zappers because the zapper is my W-2 job, which is.
It's forced into the system, right? It's like, I feel like it's like a thing I can't do anything about right now, right?
Right. So
Yeah.
I keep like these long-term plans, but.
Yeah.
So
So there's going to be things we can't change or outside of our ability to change here. When we talk about like a habit to stop, like one of the zappers to stop, does anything come up for you that you could stop? That would say, if I stopped doing X thing, that would get me, or if I started doing X thing, that would give me more either aliveness or more energy, more nourishment.
Yeah.
Might be something to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
focusing on the things we can't change is the number one way to drive us all crazy. Right. And what it can also do is make us feel like we're powerless, because it's a, well, I can't actually make my life better. And I would offer you the idea of saying, if I could focus on a habit to start that either would provide me more nourishment or provide me more aliveness, right? And I could focus on some type of zapper that's in my control, right? That would be the process to start making you feel like you're making progress. Yeah. And then with that progress, that's going to give you more confidence and more momentum to start to believe that you can do even more, that you're capable of influencing even more into it. Okay. So when we come back into next week, right? What I'd like to invite you to do is to raise your hand and to share with us, hey, here's actually the habit I decided to start that's either going to give me more aliveness or more nourishment. And here's the thing that I can actually stop. Here's the zapper I can actually stop in my life, and let us know what are the things that you came back up with. Is that okay to ask of you?
Yep.
Okay.
And
Do you have anything to add, Sean?
I'm with you. We're actually, this is kind of our zapper, is her taking her days off of work to come in here. We're renovating a condo right now, so that's why we're kind of.
That's
So
why
this is
we
our
look
day.
horrible.
That's why, yeah, kind of rough today.
No, you guys look like you're getting stuff done. I love it. Gina, did you have anything you wanted to
Yeah,
add?
I just wanted to add something, Nikki, like one of the things, and I'll encourage you to do this, is when you look at your values, if you look and see, and this test makes you dig deep a little bit, but look at your values that you land on, and then go and see how, in fact, your W-2 might be in alignment with your values. Because sometimes we think, I was there, like one of my values is flexibility, and I had a W-2 for a long time, and I'm like, this isn't flexible, and I'm like, oh, but the W-2 is allowing me to get to flexibility in some way. So if you can look at your values and really shift that perspective, then it's going to not zap it, because a lot of times the zapping comes from the perspective and the energy we share around things. So just maybe look at it that way, because oftentimes the things we think we're stuck in, we're zapping them because they're becoming zapper because we think we're stuck, instead of doing what Scott said and saying, oh wait, no, the W-2 is actually allowing you to get to the thing. And so just shifting that energy the least little bit helps tremendously.
Yeah, and one other little piece to here too, right? For anybody that wants the extra super hard challenge of what to do here, is to even think of it and try to wrestle with the idea about how does that, let's just take Nikki as for an example. Nikki, we're using you as the guinea pig for discussion today. Thank you so much for allowing us this opportunity to have this type of conversation. And we're trying to do it all in a way that's, of course, and supportive for you. But you could also look at it and say, how is the W-2 actually fulfilling other of my needs? That maybe the W-2 actually fulfills on my security needs. And maybe that's beautiful, that it actually fulfills me in the security needs. Maybe it actually gives me some other type of I'm just going to make these up, right? But it could be some other type of needs around like popularity, because actually that's the place where lots of people come to me and I feel important. and like what's going on there. And now it might interfere with other things, like I don't have the kind of freedom in my life to be able to be as creative as I want to, right? That's the zapper part of it. But you might find in thinking through your W-2 is what are all of the things a W-2 job actually gives you that is core, that is beneficial for you. And if you focus on that, I offer it to you as something to try. If you focus on that, you might find the way that you feel about your W-2 job is different. And because you would feel differently about it, because you had your attention on the positive, life fulfilling parts of that job, that it actually becomes less of a zapper. Because now you're like, hey, I don't hate my job as much. Because I can see that this job, where there's parts of it that don't really work for me, there are parts to it that really do work for me, of where I'm at right now. Because I'm not in a place that I can just snap my fingers and make the universe different. I'm working through a process. And maybe I can feel differently about that process, even if it's hard. Okay. All right. All right, guys, I just want to share that with you real quick because I know we're out of time for today. Okay, guys. So my screen here is having all kinds of fun with me. Okay. All right. So we have covered off on our like educational components for here today, guys. I wanted to have an opportunity for us to share before we break for today. If you haven't been able to get into the Discord channels and the links that are there, please scroll into the chat and get into the sign up for the appropriate Discord channels. I'd like you guys to set these up on your cell phone if you can and have the notifications on there. So that way you're able to have responsive communication inside of the Discord channels. This is where we're going to be doing all of the things in between sessions. And I'm having the team really focus in on those channels for the hub of everything that we do. As winding up for today, guys, I would just like to be able to take a couple of things of like what's on our heart, which is really just kind of like what came up for us today. What was the value? What was the gift that you were given out of today and coming into today's group? And those could be anything, something you learned, something you're grateful for, something that you met, somebody that you met here that is like resonates for you, just so that we can all experience the value you're getting with us here for today. So I just like to take a couple of people like to share. Constance, would you mind, Connie, would you mind unmuting and just sharing with us a little bit about like what's on your heart here at the coming into the end of the session for us today?
Sure. Thanks so much, Scott. I really got a lot of value today out of being around like-minded people. Although, of course, I have done, value-based exploration in the past and have set up my, morning routine and habits. It's really nice because I live in a very rural area, as you can see. It's nice to be in contact with a group of like-minded people. Thank you.
Awesome. So cool. So Connie's living the fact of the community. Even though she's done like the exercises before, it's great to have the opportunity to connect with other people like in doing that exercise. Kim, would you mind unmuting yourself? And if your connection's okay, just sharing with us a little bit about what's come up for you for today?
Yes. Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
I did join later and I feel bad about that, but just in the last bit that I got, because I was on an important call dental wise, but I feel like when we're consistent and when we just make small changes, but we're consistent about it, great things result. And we just have to have a dream in mind and be consistent and take small steps. And sometimes we overwhelm ourselves by thinking we need to do too much, or we have to totally make a huge overhaul all at once. But really, it's small and consistent changes. And that's what's so great about your program, Scott. You're consistent about having them weekly, and we're around like-minded people. We're bound to make great things happen this year. Thank you for your coaching. And it would cost a lot of money elsewhere. I'm still surprised they're free. I don't want you to charge us, but I mean, I'm really grateful because there's people out there that are charging a lot of money for things like this. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure, Kim. Part of us is to be able to help as many people as we can get through this journey and get to financial freedom. That's our #1 metric at Royal Legal Solutions. And that's where we commit all of our resources to. So great to be able to do that. So one thing I heard from you, Kim, that was here, which is like, hey, big change actually happens from small things done on a repetitive basis. a repetitive basis. Big change doesn't come from big action. It comes from small actions done consistently over time. So awesome takeaway into that. Alex, I saw you were unmuted. If you wouldn't mind just giving us a quick share, and then we'll wrap for today.
Well, coming from experience of life and several businesses, and believe it or not, it's a continuing journey, right, of learning. So today's exercise enabled me to really identify those 3 keywords that resonate with me. And I realized in thinking along those lines that I can start to add to it, which I've got. I started with 10, 5, then 3. And out of the 3, I have wealth, purpose, and community. And I realized that under wealth specifically, in terms of increasing my cash flow, my ability to make income and my investment. Number 2, to build a scalable business. And number 3, to build towards a legacy for my children's children. And then the second part to it is under purpose. I also listed legacy and impact millions, right? And I realized in order for me to accomplish those things, I really need the community, a community like this. I'm building relationships with people like this. So it enabled me to really start to think about that. And I do on a regular basis every morning, first thing I do, I go through a certain routine, but it's the challenge that I have is really focusing my time, my attention on those things that really makes a difference. And thank you, Scott. And thank you, Gina, for allowing me to really see that today.
Awesome. Well, I love it. I love the additional, what I'm hearing from you is that going through the process and being with a group here today, it like just helps reinforce some of the clarity of like, where's my attention need to be at? Where's my attention need to be at? So then I can form the intentions I need to be able to go put the money and energy into like making and creating the world it is that I want to have, which is the baseline of all of today's lesson. And 2, if you want to put it in one sentence, which you might see at the very top of the marketing email on the recap. I don't know. It's kind of crazy how that works. So coming in, guys, thank you all so much for the shares there. Thank you, Alex, Nick, Kim, and everybody that's shared and supported here today and raise their hand to take on those roles and of showing leadership into the group, because those types of actions are what we're looking for inside of our top performing group members, is people that are taking on those leadership roles to be the spokespeople, to be the ones like sharing and communicating and onto the public stage, because that's how we learn, is through the conversation back and forth and with each other about these topics. One other thing, I think we had like a couple of things to be able to do to be able to wrap up for today, Gina, in terms of takeaways or last messages. The one thing that came top of mind for me was just following back on like the conversation that we had last week with a couple of people that stuck around at the end of the call, was saying, hey, how are we going to grow this group and the other groups that solutions? What we had talked about doing in the community is saying like, hey, if today or any of the shows that you go to are ones that resonate with you, that you found were valuable, think about how you could help and influence the people in your life by being able to just forward them with a little personalized message with the email that you get as like the recap from today's show. So like Kim might say, hey, great, well, this show actually really resonated with me because of the things that I covered here. And I think like my sister or my brother or the people I met from this meetup group, these people would be the ones that would really benefit from the recap of the lessons that we learned there in the group coaching, which will have the invite for them to come and join us. So what our intentions there, guys, is to be able to have an email that has all of the value or distilled amounts of value in that email. So they're easy for you to share with the people that you know would benefit from that type of information, and that has an invitation for them to come and join us. So I'd ask that of y'all's support for yourself and for all of us, and helping grow the community of the people you know who are the right people to be here. And the way that we've talked about doing that so far is just in simply forwarding our emails to everybody, because inside of the emails is where they're going to be able to sign up for the group coaching. I'll say that. So thank you guys so much for that. Gina, any other last minute housekeeping items before we wrap today?
I don't think so. Just remember, today's the last day to get your hard copy for free.
Yeah. Get your hard copies, get people to sign up for the group coaching, and then have them email into Gina. Like if you want them, if they want to be able to take advantage of that, I'd love to be able to get these planners out to as many people as we can, people that are inside of that especially people that are inside of the community that we know we're building here, people that are looking for financial freedom, that they're looking to build their real estate portfolios, they're looking for that strong community. Let's get them in here, guys. Let's forward those emails around, get them to email Gina. Let's get them a planner inside of their hands and start seeing how we can support each other, getting that to the next level. So thank you guys so much. I hope you have a fantastic day. See you guys here next week. Join in on the other calls as well too. If you haven't done it already, join up for the Discord channels, guys. Getting into the Discord channel is absolutely essential. So thank you guys so much. Have a great one.